At the exact moment a bullet was about to strike his head, he suddenly froze in place, as if he had already seen its trajectory. Even more astonishing, when a car came barreling toward him out of control, he didn't flinch. Counting silently to 3, he bent gracefully, letting the vehicle roar past, brushing just above his hair. This man, who called himself a magician, was more like a prophet wielding magic. In front of a crowd, he predicted a woman's necklace would break in 3 seconds. Skeptical, she laughed, but as he counted down, the necklace snapped, just as foretold. The audience was stunned. Nick possessed the ability to foresee the next 2 minutes of the future. This gift had made his life easy. If he ran low on cash, he'd hit a casino. With a casual flick of his hand, he'd win the top prize. Yet he never got greedy, knowing that pushing too far would draw attention. He always left after a small win. Thanks to this caution and low profile, his ability remained unnoticed. Though he only won modest amounts, his streaks of consecutive wins were suspicious. The casino manager watched the surveillance feed. Puzzled, he called an emergency meeting, studying the footage intently, but could find no evidence of cheating. As they argued, Nick glanced directly at the camera, his gaze piercing through the screen. The manager's hair stood on end. He immediately ordered Nick's arrest, but Nick, anticipating trouble, remained calm. He stubbed out his cigarette, collected his chips, and prepared to leave before things escalated. Suddenly, a robber appeared in the middle of the hall. In Nick's mind, a vision flashed. He saw the gunman about to open fire. Without hesitation, he tackled the man to the ground. The act of heroism backfired. Security, arriving moments later, assumed Nick was the attacker. Realizing the misunderstanding, Nick bolted. The manager triggered the casino's lockdown. Security sealed all exits and poured out from every corridor, forming a tightening perimeter. But Nick seemed to have a godlike view of the situation. With the next 2 minutes mapped out in his mind, he moved like clockwork, pretending to wipe his nose. He let the first guard pass behind him. Stooping to light a cigarette and tying his shoe, he caused the second guard to stumble. Leaning against a slot machine, he evaded the third guard, who glanced at his watch and adjusted his angle. Nick's timing was flawless. Guards 4 and 5 were misled, brushing past him without realizing he was there. The supervisor in the security room fumed. It was like watching a game of hide and seek. Meanwhile, Nick calmly slipped into the restroom, tossed his shirt in the trash, swiped an old man's hat, and emerged pretending to buy a drink. 2 guards ran past him, oblivious. Successfully escaping, Nick discarded the hat, slid into a luxury car waiting outside, and drove off. The casino was left with nothing but the fading image of a man disappearing into the night. The casino manager was furious and immediately called the police. Their response was astonishingly swift. Within 10 minutes, they had locked onto the target. 2 patrol cars tailed Nick relentlessly. Just as he focused on shaking off the pursuit, a premonitory vision suddenly flashed before his eyes. At 80 miles per hour, there was no way to avoid the oncoming train ahead. Nick slammed the accelerator, sending the car's speed soaring to 120 miles per hour. The vehicle shaved past the train at the last moment. Nick breathed a sigh of relief, finally shaking off all pursuers. Upon returning to his temporary hideout, his friend Tom was already waiting. As one of the few who knew Nick's secret, Tom always provided refuge at this safe house whenever Nick got into trouble.